the amazing power of small gains. Excited to talk about this one as I do it a lot on Instagram, but we're really going to flesh it out here so you'll understand it so much more. This has been a big one in terms of changing my life, to be honest. It's something that's fundamental to everything else that I've learned, and yeah, been a big catalyst to help change my life. I can do the same for you as well if you're learning, but most importantly, implement some of this stuff as well. So, starting off, like, how did I come across this? Because I was interested in progress. That's basically it. Like, I just wanted to get progress with my body first of all. So with the mobility, getting my physical freedom back, that's mainly what I was interested in. But progress and lots of other things as well, like self-awareness, mindset, strength, like a business. I had all these other goals that I wanted to do as well. But it first really helped me with the physical freedom, with the mobility, and getting back control over my body. So that's kind of where it all started. We don't understand how progress happens. Like, if you would just pause the video and explain to someone, how does progress happen? What would you say? Like, what would I have said back then? I don't really know. Like, we're told lots of things that aren't true. Like, you know, it can be mainly down to your genetics. That's why your mobility isn't improving, or, you know, just lots of other stuff that's more disempowering. Like, it's not exactly empowering us to know that we actually have a lot more control than we think over our progress if we understand how progress happens. So yeah, like, that's going into the first problem is that we want progress now. You know, we are naturally inclined to want things like the quick fix, to want progress right now, because that's amazing, isn't it? Would I want to work 6 months to get something, or 6 weeks? Obviously I'd want it in 6 weeks, and we're sold those type of things and we believe it, but that's not the truth in how progress happens. And yeah, I wrote a weekly newsletter on this in a lot of detail. I'll link it down below if you want to go fully into it. I won't go through it all here, but I had a few different examples down there to show you that I haven't always thought this way, like playing the long game, chasing small gains and chasing goals like years into the future without worrying about them. Like, it hasn't always been that way. Even the earliest memory I had was just as a kid in my teens, like trying to make some sort of toy car. I can't remember exactly, but just getting so frustrated with the fucking thing. Like, you know, rather than taking the longer term approach, once I understand how progress happens, which we'll get to in a second, yeah, just getting so frustrated with it, trying something wasn't working, trying this wasn't working, just frustration building up, and just fucking the tool at the ground, and like, there's a big gash on the floorboard in my room. So it reminds me of that when I look back. Even now, if I'm working at home from my family home and I'm sitting in my room, I can see that gash on the floorboard, and I'm like, Jesus, yeah, I didn't really know anything, did it? Like, I didn't know anything about, first of all, self-awareness and handling emotions and things like that, but second of all, how progress works. You know, me thinking I'm just going to start trying to build these toy cars, and it's just going to happen like that. But you can transfer that over to try and get back control of your body. We think we're going to have these quick fixes, and yeah, we're going to go to some 1 or 2 sessions, and all the negative adaptations over years are just going to be gone like that. So look, I'm the same as everyone else. I've really struggled with the fact that I can't just get progress right now, but that's how it is. So that's the problem. Circling into the solution then, what is the small gains? What is it all about? So basically, small gains, it's just small little incremental bits of progress. Okay, so doesn't sound groundbreaking at all, sounds quite boring, but we're going to go into it now in a lot more detail, and you'll see how powerful it can be. So we'll just throw some stats at you first of all. This is what stuck in my mind, like this example here. If you had just 1 penny, okay, or a cent, if we had 1 cent, if you double that every day for 30 days, you'd have over 5 million. Okay, so you can Google that, you know, straight away. The kind of people have written articles on it and different things, it'll pop up. But if you had just 1 cent and you double that every day just for 30 days, it's now compounded to over 5 million. Okay, and look, obviously our progress won't double every day, but it's just an example of the amazing power of small gains over time. Okay, so that's the first example. Second one, it's the graph popularized by James Clear. Atomic Habits is a great book. It essentially talks about a lot of this stuff. That if you get 1% better every day, you're 37% better over a year. And obviously you can compound that into 2 years, 10 years, etc. Like, you can see the progress you can get is going to be astounding over a decade. So there are 2 things that always stuck in my head around progress and just the amazing power of how it can compound over time, because that's the thing we miss. We think, oh, what's the point of a small gain? Yeah, but what about a small gain compounding over months, over years, over decades, over 20 years? It's not a small gain anymore. Yeah, and that's going into the example here of where you understand this already. Like the power of small gains, you actually understand it already because that's your pension. And we'll talk about this for a minute because it's what Nassim Taleb would call domain dependence. Like all the stuff I'm going to explain to you here about small gains, you'll think you don't understand it, but you actually do understand that because you're applying that to your pension already. Like you're putting in small gains, you could say small little payments into your pension every month. Are you expecting huge gains back in 6 weeks and 12 weeks? You subconsciously know because that's just how it's been done and you haven't really thought about it, but you're putting in small gains into this pension, small bits of money, and in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, that's going to be compounded massively. And depending on how much you're making, etc., that could be a couple of hundreds of thousands, it could be $1 million, it could be whatever. So that's the power of small gains right there. That's the amazing compounding effect of small gains. You're only putting in insignificant amounts, a couple of hundred each month. That's nothing. How is a couple of hundred going to sustain you for the rest of your life from whatever, 65 to 90, 100? But again, you understand, probably subconsciously, that the compounding effect over time is what's going to be the key here. So that's essentially what I've just started to use, except in other parts of my life. That's really been it. Like I applied that compounding effect of small gains that I use in the pension to my body. That's how it started first of all. Then I went on, did it with strength training. And I went from Tin Man to being able to do the splits. I went from being really weak to nearly doing a 1-arm chin up now. Turned a passion into a business. All these type of things. And I'm only saying them to show you that the kind of confidence for me to know that I could do it was from things like the small gains, like understanding how progress happens. And that's so key because, think of that pension example. Yeah, we understand that, but yet I know for a fact, if you've had chronic pains and injuries, you've done this, so have I. We understand, the pension getting proper progress takes ages. And then we just think we're going to go for mobility and get fixed within, 1 session, 2 sessions, 6 weeks, or whatever. So it doesn't actually make any sense. Like that's not how progress works. So yeah, really understanding that domain dependence, that was key as well. Just like, oh yeah, I'm actually, all the logic for why I pay into a pension, why don't I use that in other parts of my life? So if you use a pension, you understand and implement the power of small gains already. Just use it in other areas of your life. That's what we're trying to do here. And then the big realization I had from all that I've just told you there, I've certain big realizations when I look back over the last kind of 10 years on things that have really helped me. Obviously the main one was you don't get what you deserve, you get what you settle for, which is kind of my whole ethos and attitude, because the attitude is number one. Look, if you don't have the right attitude starting off, nothing else matters. All this stuff I'm going to tell you on small gains, if you don't have the right attitude to implement it, it's useless. So that was the kind of ground zero for me. You don't get what you deserve, you get what you settle for. It's down to me. But all these ones kind of build on it then, like the small gains one, that I finally realized big gains are an illusion. There's no such thing as a big gain. Like all big gains is an accumulation of small gains over time. Like that was it. Big gains are an illusion. Any perceived big gain is just an accumulation of small gains over weeks, months, years, decades. That's it. So like once I knew that, I was taking everyone down off pedestals. I was the same, feeling like the Tin Man, seeing people doing the splits. How the fuck am I going to do that? Like this, I'm not going to be able to do that. Same with strength, same with business, same with everything else. But once I finally knew, that they didn't just wake up one morning doing those things. They've been getting small bits of progress over, like I said, years, decades, etc. So why can't I do that? That's the empowering thing. Anyone can chase the small gains. Like anyone can try and get a small gain today, do that the next day, do it over weeks and months. So that was so empowering to me because that just shattered the belief that I can't do these things that I want to do because I'm so far away from it. It's just the right understanding and approach, the right attitude and approach, that's going to get me there over time. So that was huge. This is where a lot of my confidence comes from. I was saying like that the splits were inevitable in time when I started my journey, and I got it. I've said the same thing about the 1-arm chin up. I'm 2.5 kgs away. I can do it with just 2.5 kg assistance. So, it's not like it's nothing to do with like being cocky or anything. It's just it's like fact. That's like my confidence is coming from factual evidence on how progress happens. That it comes in small gains, and if I just keep getting enough small gains, eventually, poof, to the outside world it looks like a big gain. But I'm not fooled by it. Anyone could have done it if they just understood the stuff we're going through here. So, moving on from that, then, where this is all coming from really is evolution. I talk a lot about evolutionary biology because it's so important to human nature and anything that you want to do. But this is another thing that really helps me, and it links in with the small gains, because it's the same thing. It's how does evolution happen? Like, what is evolution? And like, I remember I googled it when I was writing the newsletter just to see what would come up. Develop gradually is what comes up. That's it. That's small gains. Like evolution. Me and you. Like we've evolved from apes. So all the way from apes up to me and you. That looks like a big gain. That's a humongous gain. But did an ape go to sleep and wake up as you? No. Same as we're saying, I didn't just nearly get a one-arm chin-up or any of these other things. It's evolved. It's been developed gradually over time. And obviously that humongous gain, apes to us, that's 6 million years, and other goals in our lives are going to be months and years, but it's all the same. Like, it's all the same way it happens through evolution, which is just, developing gradually. So like that was huge for me. I always had that example in my head of, I'm starting the one-arm chin-up journey, Jesus, am I really able to do this? Like, and then just thinking, I'm a Homo sapien, I've come from an ape. Like, for me to be here on this planet, we've come from apes swinging in trees in Africa to humans that build rockets to fly to other planets. This is what's possible, like factually, or else I wouldn't be here. Like, that is what's possible in terms of evolution. I think I can go from pulling my body up with 2 arms to pulling my body up with 1 arm. What do you think? And like these kind of factual examplos, because I'm big on like facts and science and stuff, this isn't any like believe, conceive, achieve, like making up fluff. Like this is facts, so just getting those facts really gave me perspective of like, yeah, these things I'm trying to do, like it's not a huge deal. Like much more crazy things have happened in terms of evolution than a human pulling up their body with 1 arm. Do you know what I mean? But we can get stuck in trying it now, and it feels impossible, and thinking we can never do it. But that's why getting the perspective from the information here and from the education has really helped. So that's one example I always stuck with, is just human evolution. And the second one, it's learning how to walk as a child. This is a great one. I tell people as well on Instagram, if they've tried to do something for 6 weeks or 12 weeks and it's not working, or why isn't their mobility improving? Obviously there can be lots of reasons about the type of stuff that you're training, but at a fundamental level, like how long have you stuck with it? How long have you tried? Consistently. Most people have done fuck up, like 6 weeks, 12 weeks of, I'm talking about like focused, consistent work, not trying to dropping off. And then when you just think about progress as a kid, it takes on average 9 months to walk. As a kid. Okay, so literally for 9, like I can't remember this, you can't remember it, but we couldn't walk, we're crawling on the floor. It takes roughly on average kind of 9 months. So say 6 months to a year to learn how to walk. What were you doing every day? You're basically doing all the stuff I preach about now, and which has got me progress. Like, you're playing the long game, you're checking the ego. Like, you don't even have an ego. It's not like you try to walk once, you fall over, you're like, oh, what's my mom thinking of me now? Or what are they going to think? They're laughing at me. Like, those thoughts aren't even entering the equation yet to hold you back, but that's the thoughts that we'll get now when we're more self-aware. So, like, you're playing the long game, you're checking the ego, you're training smart because you're just exploring. You're not following guidelines and rules of, it takes you 2 years how to walk, here's the roadmap. It's like, no, you're just getting up, getting after it, trying, fail and learning. And then you're chasing the small gains, which is the topic of today, where you don't know it consciously, but you're just trying. But like subconsciously, if you keep getting small bit better, it's going to add up and compound over time. And that's what happens. You're walking, aren't you? Like, this is why I think all these examples are great, because they can't be refuted. You can't come back to me and say, that doesn't make any sense. Then I'd just be like, How are you walking today? Ask your parents, did they put you to bed one night and then the next day you were just suddenly walking? It's like, no, it developed gradually. You used the power of small gains over roughly 9 months as a kid to slowly get better and learn how to walk. And now you're walking. And it's the same for everything else in your life. Like, as a human baby, we're useless. We can't do anything. Like, we're one of the only species that are useless as infants. Other species can look after themselves in different ways. We're completely useless, but we pass them out over time because we're so adaptable. So like walking was the first one. That's a great example. Reading, speaking, driving a car, playing sport, using a computer, like all the things you do in your life, you have learned them all through the power of small gains, but you just don't even realize it. So that's why it even just annoys me of like, oh, I can't improve my mobility. Oh, I couldn't learn jiu-jitsu. Oh, I couldn't learn how to juggle. That makes no sense. That makes no sense at all, because if you couldn't learn how to do those things, you'd still be crawling around on the floor. Like, that is fact. Try prove me wrong. That is fact. If we couldn't slowly learn things and get better at them, and then it looks like a big gain over time, we'd all still be crawling around on the floor, not able to speak. That's not the case, is it? So I think that's a great example, one that always stuck with me, one that kind of comes into my mind if I have to try and, it's not like, I was going to say convince, but it's not even like forcing them to understand. It's just opening their mind to something that completely dismantles the belief that they have in their head of, I can't get better at this. That's all it is. It's a learned belief. It's not the truth, but it can be a self-fulfilling prophecy for you if you're not open to other information. It's just, the religion example is an easy one. It's just someone who, we'll say believes in God, and then there's someone who doesn't believe in God, and this person's like, oh, God isn't true, and blah, 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 blah. We'll believe whatever we want to believe until we become more open-minded about it. So it's the same thing, I could put all these facts, I could give 10 more ones. If a person thinks, no, I can't get any more mobile, that's the way it's going to be for them. Okay, so there are two ones that really helped me. The last one then, it's just the iceberg analogy of going back to the big gains. Like, look, I already know at this stage, that big gain up there, that's not a big gain. It's just an accumulation of small gains. I know that's how they did it. I can do it too. But another kind of version of that is, think of it like an iceberg. You just see the tip of the iceberg above the water, okay? You don't see 90% of the iceberg under the water, which is all the small gains, all the trying, the failing, the learning, the heartbreak, all this stuff for the person to be able to do what they do now, like a world champ. Not even a world champ, look, I'm not trying to be a world champion, whatever, like just doing anything. Like someone who's doing something that you want to do, they have a business that you want to get into, they have some sort of skill that you want, or they've good mobility and that's what you want. Like, you just see the tip of the iceberg. You don't see the 90% of those small gains that are leading up to it, and then that puts you off straight away because you think, oh, they're naturally good at this, they have good genetics, whatever. So they're the kind of examples around evolution that just ingrained in my head so much, because it's, like I said, it's fact with those evolution ones. Through me being here, reading, writing, walking, talking, all that sort of stuff, I'm small gains in action, you're small gains in action, so you can't watch this video and say, I don't agree with that. Like, you are a product of small gains. Like they're the main points on it. The three takeaways then, just to kind of put it out a bit of structure for you, it's stuff that we've gone through, but like point one, you need to understand the power of small gains first of all, okay? Because when we don't understand it, we think, oh, that's where I want to be, could be 2 years away, 10 years, I'm not going to be able to do that, and you don't even start, and the process can't happen. It's literally like, I want to have 1 million by the time I'm 60, put 500 in every month, what's that going to do? That's going to do nothing, you're shooting yourself in the foot. So I had down here, like, once you understand evolution, how progress works in humans and the world, you now have the secret ingredient to progress. There you go. And that, any big gain is just an accumulation of small gains over time. With this understanding, you can set the foundation for long-term progress. That's key. Like, the stuff that I've just gone through there, that's why I could finally go, feel like the Tin Man now, I'm going to get out of this, improve my mobility, even to the level of the front splits. And that took years. I was told it wasn't possible, but, look at my profile picture on Instagram. That's why I have it, because that was, one of the big times where I kind of did the impossible in a way, and the power of small gains, I was like, holy shit, for me to go like from that Tin Man hips up to the front splits. And then I just use that for everything else, for strength, for business, for all these other things. that I want to do. Then second point, you have to become aware of where you're using the small gains approach in your life and then start to implement it in the areas that you want. So just like I said, if you have a pension, you're using this amazing power of small gains in the pension. Cool, for your finance, we'll say, why don't you use that in other areas of your life? Your mobility, your strength, your relationships, your self-awareness, your sport, like whatever it is. Don't just segment it and use it in your finance. Start to spread around, use it in other areas of your life as well. You're going to get the same progress and results from it. And then I just had down awareness is the first point to change. If you're not aware of it, you're not going to be able to change it. True. That's why I'm making these videos, to make you aware of it, because this is the first point of change. Then the third point, just applying small gains in these areas of your life that you want to improve. And then just remember these examples is what's really going to help, like the pension example, the penny doubling, 1% better over years, 37% better, the example of the kid walking, like you yourself, you are small gains, the fact you read, write, walk, talk, all these other things, you're small gains in action. So it's 100% truth. Look in the mirror, you'll see it. So that's where the confidence comes from, to actually realize I can apply this to any area of my life that I want to improve. Okay, so I think that was it. I'm just saying this helps you to avoid the distortion when you haven't seen the big gain, because that's what can happen. Like there will be tipping points for certain things where you're putting the small gains in, and like maybe you haven't hit the big gain yet, but it just means there's not enough small gains there yet. And that's it. Someday it'll just happen. Like I've loads of examples where obviously at certain times like I thought it would look like a bigger gain now. Like the handstand push-up example is a great one. It took me like 18 months or a bit more. Thought I'd like 3 months left because it wasn't going too well. Then one day I randomly tried it and I got it. I was like, holy shit. I thought I'd have another 3 to 6 months of training to get that. That was just the point where, I didn't wake up that morning 50% stronger than I usually am. I was getting all the small gains, and then one day, boom, there we go. I had accumulated enough small gains that it looks like a big gain, a handstand push-up, So there you go. You need it's great you watching me now and saying, oh yeah, that makes complete sense. Oh yeah, it's backed by science and logic, and I'm an example of it. You need to make a new experience of it now. Like the experiences are what really solidify this for you in your own brain. Like look, you have them from walking, reading, all this kind of stuff, but they're kind of older examples. Once you get a new example, boom, there it is. Like you can see it in front of your eyes that shit, this this stuff is actually working. And that's, another conversation of the dopamine response and the loop and all this kind of stuff, which is really going to help you stay consistent with it. So there you go. That's pretty much it. And then I was putting in like a real life example at the end of someone who's not me, because I don't just want to be talking about me. Look, I'm just trying to show you what's possible through my own life and how I've implemented this in different areas. But the client example I had there was Michael Gogarty, and is because he, in his client review, he specifically mentioned like the understanding of the power of small gains and how it helped him. Because I tell clients, this is part of the education that I go through with them, because the education is really where a lot of the long-term progress is coming from. So what did he have on it? Like a small little part. I'll put the review down below in the description so you can read through it. But like he had down, I learned how to chase the small gains and play the long game when it comes to my personal development as an athlete and other parts of my life. It's just all the stuff I've explained to you there. Like he finally understood, once we improved the mobility, that he can start doing this in other areas of his life as well. And I'm just, that's it. It's so much more than just like a mobility program to me. I'm trying to empower you guys with the tools to improve everything, improve your mobility, strength, other things in your life as well, because it's all the same process of getting progress. Like the mobility progress, I suppose this was the main thing. Like after a couple of months working with Mark on my mobility, I can safely say I've never felt better on the pitch and in general everyday life. Honestly, life changing. I had one of the best seasons this year in GAA. Boom, that'll get me emotional now trying to say this out loud. Look, I'm obviously very happy when I get stuff like that. Oh, let's move on. But there you go. That's why I'm doing it. So, fighting back the emotion. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. So what I'll do is I'm going to put these in the description. So this is all coming from a newsletter, so a weekly newsletter that I do every week. And if you want to see it all like fleshed out in detail, click into the newsletter. If you want the client testimonial. I wasn't expecting that. If you want the client testimonial, you can see it there as well. You can read through it all from Michael, and yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'll end it there.